So I'm assuming that Sean Payton has reached out to some of the coaches with the Jets. Hour number 3, please hit the like button and has apologized for some of his comments. I don't really think that's how you want to start your 2023 preseason out, is having to call coaches that you have on your schedule apologizing for shit that you talked. Worry about your own barn, guy. You're not that impressive of a coach when it comes to thinking you're better than Mike McCarthy. He's not better than Mike McCarthy. He's not a better coach than Mike McCarthy, Sean Payton. Where did you think that? Their records are almost identical. They both had Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Where is the advantage that Sean Payton had over Mike McCarthy? Where? What was the advantage? What was the advantage? He had Drew Brees. He had Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Drew Brees' record is 9-8 in the postseason. You're making it sound like that guy's got some psychotic postseason success that's amazing. It's not. He doesn't have massive success in the postseason. He's 1 or 2 games over 500. He's a better play caller. It hasn't resulted in shit. What are you talking about? Why? Because one guy is looked at as a better guy. He talks better. Maybe he's not fat. McCarthy doesn't look like Peyton. Peyton looks like a TV star. I wonder how people would look at Andy Reid if Andy Reid hadn't won Super Bowls in Kansas City as a fat, overrated coach. They look at him now because he's just a phenomenal coach. When Andy Reid was in Philadelphia, nobody said he was a Hall of Fame coach. Nobody. Now he's winning. And he's closing the deal now with Mahomes. They have identical win percentages. They had 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks. I mean, you really make it sound like Peyton is better. His results don't dictate that. They don't dictate that. Did Patrick Mahomes save Andy Reid's career? No. I think it put him in the Hall of Fame. Andy Reid, in my opinion, had a lot of Marty Schottenheimer in him. Marty's a great coach. 200 wins. Postseason came, always fell short. Andy, a little more success than what Marty did. I think Marty's 6th all-time in wins. But Patrick Mahomes put Andy Reid in the Hall of Fame. Didn't save his career. Put him in the Hall of Fame. Okay? Are you saying that Rodgers and Brees are the same? I'm saying their postseason records are. Don't you talk to me about empty calorie stats, JM? Their postseason records are identical. Shit, Tone looks at Jeffrey Lurie and goes, he's won 1 Super Bowl in 30 years. He doesn't talk about the 12-win seasons or the NFC East titles. He talks about Super Bowls. What are we talking about here? That's not what you asked. Am I saying he's the same? Yeah. Results are the same. Yes. One does it better? Not really. Not really. Rodgers is probably a little better than Brees. Not much. It's the same. How can you debate the results? It's like debating an election. You can't debate the results. And by the way, I think there's a trick to coaching in Dallas with Jerry Jones as the owner. Two places that have to be the most difficult place to coach, Green Bay and Dallas. Why in Green Bay? Because you don't answer to an owner. You answer to a board of directors, which means you answer to 6 guys. And in Dallas, you answer to a guy that's better than Jim Irsay, but still is the face of the franchise. I think it's difficult to coach in Dallas because it's not your team. Jerry gets all the credit and you get all the blame if you're the head coach in Dallas. My bar is not low, nor are my standards. If a fan wants to be satisfied with just getting invited to the dance, they can sit at my lunch table. Screw the invitation. I want the prom queen and her mom. Love that attitude. Absolutely. Hey, man, we really had a great year. 12 wins. Well, whatever. Bahama goes, I take Breeze over Rodgers. Not me. I would take Aaron Rodgers. He's a better player. If you looked up the postseason records, I think Aaron Rodgers is 12-11 or 13-12. And I think Drew Brees was 9-7. I think Russell Wilson's 9-7 in the postseason. Everyone assumes that these quarterbacks have these miraculous postseason numbers and massive success. Most of them are 500. Jalen Hurts is 500. It's hard as hell to win in the postseason. But one guy's glorified more than the other guy. Why? Because he's on TV? Sean Payton's not a better coach. And you know how I know that? Wins and losses. You can't move the yardsticks on that. They were both in the NFC. They were both in the era of Brady. You could debate all you want. The record doesn't lie. Okay? The records don't lie. Postseason doesn't lie. You're either good or you're not. Ronald goes, they're all 500 with one Super Bowl. Well, then don't talk to me like Sean Payton is this unbelievable miracle worker. Dude, I think Sean Payton is not a better coach than Pete Carroll. I think Pete Carroll's a better coach. You know why? This guy took a reclamation project in Geno Smith, turned it around, and I thought Seattle was going to be the worst team in the league a year ago. He put Geno Smith in the MVP conversation. Okay? Brees was the 3rd pick out of Purdue. Drew Brees was not a first-round pick, guy. That is not true. Okay? That is not true. At all. As a matter of fact, he was a Charger first. And Marty had him. Whatever. Okay. I think he made Sean Payton. Brees was a Pro Bowler. Brees was a Pro Bowler already with the Chargers. Brees didn't need to be made. He was a Pro Bowler with the Chargers in San Diego. He got hurt. Sean Payton didn't make him. He was already great. He was already, people forget he was a Pro Bowler with the San Diego Chargers. Yeah, he made him. Yeah, okay. Yeah, and then when Brees left, that thing went to shit. Shit, man. Mike McCarthy's working on two 12-win seasons in a row in Dallas with Jerry on his back. So I guess Mike Holmgren's overrated too because he won one Super Bowl with Brett Favre. right? He's overrated too. Dude, Pete Carroll's a better coach than Sean Payton will ever be. That guy wins ball games. As a matter of fact, if you want to look at it this way, when Pete Carroll got fired with both the Jets and Patriots, he still had a winning NFL record before he got the USC job. He went back and solidified his Hall of Fame career in Seattle and made himself a Hall of Fame NFL coach with the Seahawks and Paul Allen. Carroll's by far, in the last 20 years, here are your greatest coaches: Belichick, Reed, Carroll, I like this guy McVay. Jim Harbaugh or John Harbaugh. Mike Tomlin. Okay. Whatever, dude. Whatever. Real quick before we get back to resetting here. So Jerry Jones, here's again. Watch this. Here is again the problem that you have with how the Cowboys do business and the Eagles do business. Let's put this out there. Let's change management for a second with the Cowboys and Eagles. How do you think the Eagles would have handled the Zach Martin situation that's going on now with the Cowboys at camp? And some of the comments that Jerry's made. How do you think Howie and Jeffrey Lurie would handle Zach Martin and his holdout? How do you think they'd handle that? And just to put everything in perspective, Jerry says we need money to sign Micah Parsons. Okay? He came out publicly and said that they need money for Parsons. Probably CeeDee Lamb as well. And at the end of the year, you got a decision to make on Dak Prescott on whether or not you're going to extend Dak. Handled, Eagles wouldn't have even be in the situation. How would they have addressed? Okay, how would they have addressed it? You think they would have had more of an insight into not letting it get to where? How do you have a holdout right now of that magnitude with that magnitude of a player on July 31st? How is that possible? How is that possible that you have a situation like this on July 31 with a key player? It's because of what Tone said. They weren't prepared. Here's how I think the Eagles would have handled it. But to your point, it wouldn't make news. He would have been paid a ton up front. It's correct. That's right, Tone. This is how they would have done this. They would have known that in 12 months from January, maybe 14 months with March 17th, when actively you can start redoing deals for the next year, and that's when the new calendar year starts in the NFL. Do you know what Howie would have done right after the Super Bowl? They would have pulled the Lane Johnson. Here's a ton of money up front. Lower your cap number and your cap hit because we got to pay potentially Devontae Smith or what have you. Or Jalen. We got to pay some of these guys. So here's a bunch of money. Jerry doesn't want to pay money up front. See, Jerry's still doing things archaic. The Eagles have so much balls in how they do business. Here's the money you earned. How about this? I'll be willing to take less money in signing bonus if you give me a lot of money in signing bonus. Does that make sense? Say this. Say the market value for a guard is $17, $18 million. Jerry comes to you, or Howie comes to you and goes, hey, listen, we're going to give you $30 million instead of 42. Instead of 36, or instead of 42, you're going to get 36. 90% of that is going to be in a signing bonus. You're going to go like this. You're going to give me $36 million up front. So my number can be lower and $13, $14 million on my base. Okay? Cash in the bank, man. Versus pie in the sky. What do you want? That's how the Eagles do business. Do you want the money now? Or do you want to take a $3 or $4 million haircut like Darius Slay did? Darius Slay took a $3.5 million pay cut, but they gave him upfront money. And Rosenhaus and them went, better take the money now. I'm 32. 32. Zach Martin is currently ranked 10th among guards contracts with an average salary of $14 million. The highest paid guard currently is Lindstrom, the kid from Atlanta, at $20.5. Okay, from the Cowboys, and I know I got to pay Parsons. This is what I do with him. I go like this. Here's a 3-year contract. Instead of $60 million, $50 million, $54 million, you give him the majority of the money up front. This is what the Eagles would do. But instead, Jerry doesn't want to give the signing bonus money up front like that to lower the cap. And that's why traditionally the Dallas Cowboys are in salary cap hell every freaking year, where they have to jettison guys off the team like Ezekiel Elliott or Amari Cooper. Look at what they've done the last 2 years on that team. Amari was scheduled to make $20 million. Had to get rid of him. They got rid of him, what was it, Tone? For a 6-rounder to Cleveland. Wasn't it like a 6-rounder? Or like a 4th rounder or some shit? You traded a 1 to the Raiders to get him. And all you got back was a 3rd? He had 1,000 yards last year in Cleveland with the cascade of quarterbacks and the nightmare situation they had. He still had 1,000 yards. And you traded a 1 for that. You got no value in return, and you had to dump him because he was a salary cap casualty, not because he wasn't good. That's typical Cowboy miscalculation on salaries. That's how you constantly are redoing your roster. That's why, again, and I'll say this to you, Howie's given me an education in how he does it. But see, he's got an owner that, dude, I can't think of an owner in the NFL that goes, here's the bag of money, let's work from that. You see, almost every owner in the NFL works from this. Let's work with the years first and the base. The Eagles work from the bag of money back. Here's the bag of money. That's how the Hurts deal got done. It was the bag of money up front that made everything so easy. Here's $150 million in guarantees. Shit. Okay. I need some off-ramps to restructure, to redo this, that. Man, you're more willing to be more flexible when you are being shown a bag of money than you are pie in the sky. Hey, I'll pay you this and that and this and this. And get what they're telling you. And you don't get it and you don't have it. It's not real money. That's why agents and Nicole, who handles Hurts, this is why she's brilliant, because the Eagles went, here's the bag of money. Here's the bag of money. Let's work back from the bag of money. Jerry doesn't do that. Jerry had to pay Dak Prescott, his first year of that big contract, $75 million. The 45 on the base. And then get this, the signing bonus on a percentage of it. They paid him $75 million. Holy shit. Do you know what Jalen Hurts? Jalen Hurts, his cap hits with the team are ridiculous. Dak is scheduled to make $50 million next year. The Eagles would never be in this position with Zach Martin. Martin has no guaranteed money left. He's the best at his position. Jerry, better figure it out. I'll tell you something, too. Here's something that's even dumber. If you're the Cowboys, and this is why this is important to understand something. Why in the world would you spend $50 million and have a $2 offensive line? What's the point of having Micah Parsons signed if you got an offensive line that can't protect your guy? Look at the thing Jalen has. Jalen is a $50 million a year player with the richest line in the league. The Eagles invested in him and in the line. They don't invest in running backs, defensive tackles, linebackers, or safeties. All their money goes to different positions. And get this, it really doesn't matter what position you are. For the Eagles to pass on Isaac Seumalo got a great contract in Pittsburgh. Shit, so did Andre Dillard. For those guys to pass, they looked at the economics of it. Well, man, you got 3 dudes in your offensive line. And guess what? Here, Tone, think about this. Why do you think they let Isaac Seumalo go, guys? Why do you think they let Isaac Seumalo go? You guys have any idea? They restructured Lane and redid Mulata. I kind of just told you. Why do you think they let him go? Because Landon Dickerson's next. They want to pay Dickerson. They want to pay Dickerson. They do not, and they're not going to let Dickerson get to July 31st, 2024, sitting there going, well, I'm going to hold out. This is going to be addressed, and it was addressed this offseason. The Seumalo not re-signing is to set up Dickerson signing next February and to put him with new money. The Hurts restructuring, when it comes to giving him a boatload of money, is to put Dickerson under a 3-year deal, and then potentially you're going to have to deal with Devontae Smith. Those 2 guys are next up. So you're going to see restructuring. That's why they let that guy roll through. Okay? So again, and here's that. Here's Dallas. Watch this. Do you guys understand? As good as an offseason as I think Dallas has had, Dallas is still walking backwards versus you. You're adding more younger talent. Okay? And creating a great salary cap. The healthiest salary cap. Hey, so you have $13 million in cap space with a guy who's scheduled to make $50 million next year. Wow. Good for you, man. Good for you. It's going to be interesting to see what they pay Devontae Smith if they pay him $20 and they restructure AJ's deal. Here's how I would do it. And hey, get this. No other team would do this. The Eagles will. Now that you see how the Eagles operate, it would not shock me if they go to A.J. Brown and go, hey, A.J., we want you to take a pay cut. $5 million. We'll give you a bag of money. Work back from there. Lower the cap. Here's more upfront money. See if you get 2 years out of it. Maybe you do. I'll take the money in the bank versus the pie in the sky. That's how they entice the players. Here's $20 million in cash. Okay? Once you take a $5 million pay cut, though, so we can keep Smitty. Here's $20 million. Okay. Okay. In 2024, the Eagles will only have 7.75% of their cap space occupied by the quarterback with an $18.6 million cap. That's unbelievable. Now you're going to be able to do Landon Dickerson. You're going to be able to do Landon Dickerson. You're going to be able to do Devontae Smith. Think of that. 7.75% of the money that is on the cap because of the bag of money they put up front. Howie Roseman is working on the 2024 salary cap this past offseason. Isaac Seumalo had to be let loose. Okay, and then get this. You're going to lose another $15 million in the center position. So you're going to have that off the books with Kelsey's money. Jurgens is still going to be on a rookie contract. Your right guard's on a rookie contract. Dickerson gets signed, Smith gets signed. You restructure AJ, you got two guys that are valued at $20 million playing wide out for you. It's all because the owner in Philly puts the money up front and works back from the bag of money. You're the only place that really does that. Shit, you got an owner in Spanos that argues over $500,000 with Joey Bosa. Okay? Most owners don't want to put the money up front. See, don't you guys get it? Anytime you hear an owner talking 5-year contract, he's basically lying to the players. You'll never fulfill that 5-year contract. And you think you have a 5-year contract? You probably have a 2.5-year contract. And you never get the value of the deal unless it's in the bonus. And most of the teams don't want to give you the bonus. They'd rather eat the cap hit. In 2025, the Eagles will have only 9% of their cap occupied by the quarterback position with $23.6 million cap hit on the QB, ranked 15th in the league. And why do you think all of that played out like that? Well, because the quarterback and the organization started from the bag of money and worked back. Look at Dak Prescott's deal. Look at the financial hit that he puts on the Cowboys next year with $50 million. Look at the guy in New York who's not even half the player of Hurts. Look at the money that he's going to be on the books for. Eagles getting all their money. Dude, the Philadelphia Eagles are not worried about money. Okay? They reinvest in their players. They put money up. They put their money where their mouth is. Where most teams in the league today put promises up where their mouth is. Well, I promise to pay you 5 years. No, you don't. You'll come up with some bullshit way to get a guy that's younger, cheaper, or draft a guy and move me or fire me. Those contracts never pan out. 5-year deals, 4-year deals. See, to me, if I'm a guy like Hurts, I'd rather have the way it's constructed. Give me a 3-year contract, pay me $50 million, and I get to redo my contract every year so I don't look like Mahomes or I'm the 10th highest paid player in the league and I just did my deal 3 years ago. I'm already the 10th highest paid quarterback. How's that make sense? In 2024, now know this. Check this out. 2024, the Eagles cap hit with their quarterback will be 7.75% of the cap space occupied by the quarterback. okay, with an $18.6 million cap hit. Here are the Cowboys in 2024. The Cowboys will only have 26% of their cap space occupied by the QB position with a $62.3 million cap hit. Second in the National Football League. Next year, Dak Prescott is going to cost the Cowboys $62 million on a $220 million cap. Only goes up 17% every year. Maybe to get around to $227 million. You're going to have to cut guys. Zach Martin's next to be cut. Unless they move off of Prescott. And they're not going to move off of Prescott. What's out there? What Jerry is stuck with this guy until he dies. What's the option? At 81 years old, he's going to go into the draft? That's going to be for Steven. Jerry's not leaving off Dak. Prescott, unless injured, will be the final quarterback that Jerry Jones has owning that team and him running that team. The day he doesn't run that team, they'll move off of Dak. He is going to run through the tape with Dak Prescott. He's got to. He's got no choice. Where are you going? What, a guy in the draft at 81, 82 next year? This guy's running out of time here. Jerry don't have 5 years. He don't have 5 years. 62. What was that number? $62.3 million on the Cowboy cap next year. Whew. You're going to be gutting that team. Zach Martin could be traded. This now. He could be traded. Shit, man. You can't afford him. Now, here's where you got the player by the cojones. I think he's 32. So you're now in a position. Now, again, remember, Trent Williams got traded from Washington, and I think he was either 32 or 33. Okay, and he got traded to San Francisco. Regarding the wide receiver position in 2024, the Eagles receivers only occupy, Jesus criminy. So the quarterback only occupies 7.75% of the cap space in 2024. And the Eagle wide receivers only occupied 9% of the Eagle cap space, 21.6. The Cowboys receivers will occupy 21.5% of the Cowboys cap and $51.8 million. See, here's where Jerry, again, it just doesn't add up. This is why Zach Martin is going to be a casualty. I don't see how they sign him. So get this. The quarterback is $62.3 million. The receiving core is $51.8. On three players, four maybe with Cooks, 4 players. Half your salary cap is on 4 players. Not a chance in hell. Zach Martin signed. Not a chance in hell. No way. And if I were Zach Martin, you're forcing, to me, I think this is great if you're an Eagle fan. If I was Zach Martin, why should I play? Pull a Trent Williams. Make him trade you. Washington traded a Hall of Fame tackle and Trent Williams. If that's me, I sit back and go like this. I'm not playing for you. Okay? I'm making $10 million less or $8 million less than market value. I'm not doing that. I got one more deal left. You don't want to pay me? Trade me. Tell you what, if I was Cincinnati and I got a quarterback or if I'm Buffalo, or if I'm the Jaguars, if I'm Kansas City, I might be thinking about Zach Martin. There's not a chance I think Jerry trades him. And Jerry's already basically told you, we need to have money for CeeDee Lamb and for Michael Parsons. He's telling Zach Martin, we're not doing it. Man, the Eagles worked on Landon Dickerson this offseason. And they're preparing for Landon Dickerson in March of 2024 to sign him and Smitty. They're going to get Devontae Smith and Landon Dickerson done next year. I wouldn't be shocked if they restructure Hassan Reddick's deal too so they can free up some cash, or maybe even Bradbury's deal, depending the kind of year he has. Or you jettison Slay and you get him out of the building. Because why can you get Slay out of the building? The cap hit won't be that negative. Why? Gave him a bag of money. That's why the Eagles are not going to get killed. This one is telling, listen to this, Sills. Regarding the offensive line in 2024, the Eagles line occupies 20.3% of the cap space, 48.9%. That still is spectacular with three guys making over $16 million apiece. The Cowboys offensive line occupies 17.4% of the cap space with $42 million. Eagles take care of their big guys. But here's the problem. So you have $50 million that take up the Eagles. But okay. So you have $42 million in the Cowboy line. You have $51 million in the three receivers and $62 million in the quarterback. How are you paying for anything? You got $42 million in your offensive line in cap hits. $52 million in your wide receivers. And $62 million. That's $156 million of a $225 million salary cap. Cowboys will be horseshit next year. Currently as they're built with Zach Martin on it. Man, the Eagles are better businessmen, football-wise, than Jerry Jones. They are better business people. That's why you guys here, you see all these things that Tone is putting out here, guys? This is the secret to your success. 9% cap hit, 7% cap hit with your quarterback money. 9%. What was it with the receivers? 9% with the receivers. Cowboys have 21.5% of their cap. This is why you win right here. You're economically smart. See this right here? This is exactly why the Patriots were able to win for 20 years at that level, because this is exactly I'll tell you this, man. I don't know what kind of talent evaluator Howie Roseman is, but I know this. He might go down as the greatest capologist of all time. This guy knows how to run a salary cap. He is gifted. That's the kind of shit when you're dude, nothing is over the top. And you know what he does? He makes hard decisions. I ain't paying Hargrave $20 million. I'll pay you $13 million. What was he making last year? 12.9? That was as high as he was ever going to go with him. Nah, not doing it. Not doing it. I'm not paying that. I think that safety had a fluke year, and I'm not paying $20 million. You think I want a Jamal Adams on my team? He would never do what Seattle dug themselves out of a hole. You know how they dug themselves out of? How do you think Seattle dug themselves out of a hole to have a better team these last 2 years? They traded Wilson. It was the only way to get out from the Jamal Adams nightmare. 3 ones, $20 million per. That thing could have ended horribly in Seattle for Pete Carroll. That could have ended horribly. Okay? But he went like this to John Schneider. We got to get out from under this. We're not going to go anywhere. We lost 3-1. They move him to Denver. They get the picks back. Geno has some sort of psycho year. And now Seattle could potentially win the West. That's getting it done. Yeah, man. I mean, Zach Martin, if you're the Cowboys, it's July 31, and you're sitting here, and the Eagles are $13.5 million under the cap, and the Cowboys are sitting there going, we don't have the money to pay our guy. The Eagles must just go like this. Well, you should pay your guys then. Everyone says the Cowboys, they pay their guys. Do they really? The Cowboys had to get loose of Amari. They had to move Randy Gregory. Now they're going to have to move Zach Martin. They had to dump Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, dude, here's what's crazy. To have the cannolis like Howie does, how many people do you think? Hey, I guarantee you this one. I guarantee you. What do you think the Cowboys would have done? Hey, Tone, how about this? If the Cowboys had a running back with 1,300, if they had a running back with 1,300 yards and 11 touchdowns, what do you think the Cowboys would have done with him? If Zeke Elliott had put those numbers up, 13 touchdowns, 11 touchdowns, 1,300 yards, what do you think Jerry would have done? They would have paid him. And they'd have moved to Pollard probably, who the guy you should sign was making $800,000 last year total, versus the guy who's making like $500,000 a game. Right? The Cowboys would have signed him to a big contract. So when Jerry comes out today and says, I need money for CeeDee Lamb and for Michael Parsons, I knew immediately there's problems. For what if that's you, would you come back and play this year? If you're Zach Martin, if you're the Cowboys, would you play? I wouldn't. I wouldn't play. Be like, trade me, man. Jerry is just paying people. There's no rhyme or reason to his madness. Yeah, because he falls in love with his players instead of like Howie doesn't like with his players. Howie falls in like with his guys, not in love with his guys. Howie respects his guys, but here, get this. Here's again how they deal with their players versus Dallas. Can you imagine that? I can't pay a Hall of Fame player. You drafted a Hall of Fame player, now you're telling them, with still juice in the can, you can't pay him. Okay? Here's why it works in Philly and not in Dallas. Dude, I don't have to love you in Philly if you pay me. You feel me? If you pay me top money, you don't have to stroke me. You keep stroking those checks every Tuesday and those direct deposits. I'll love you there. Okay? Don't stroke me. Pay me. That's right, Ronald. You treat somebody up front by paying them. Zach Martin's name isn't sexy, Ronald? Doesn't matter. Guy's going to Canton. He's a Canton player. I personally think Zach Martin's a better football player than Joe Thomas. He's a lot like Mike Munchak. He's somebody like that. Russ Grimm. That's how good I think he is. Yeah, don't stroke me, man. Pay me. You see, in Philly, they don't have to pet you on the head, tell you how much they love you, this and that bullshit, give you that fantasy money. They pay you up front. Hey, look, we want you to take it through. Hey, and get this too, right, Tone? Here's the coolest thing about the Eagles. We want you to take a $3.5 million pay cut. But you know what we're going to do? Because you've been such a good ball player. Darius Slay has 2 years in Philly. Here's some money up front. Cap hit will come down. It's $3.5 million, but here's $20 million. Okay. More than you'll make any open market. You know, if you go on the market right now, you're pretty much going to sign what Stephon Gilmore got. If that, he's a better player than you. Stephon Gilmore is a better player than Darius Slay. Stephon Gilmore is going to the Hall of Fame. Okay? That's an NFL Defensive Player of the Year. Okay? You know how many corners have won Defensive Player of the Year? Not many. He'd have got that contract. Okay? Look at Ben. Ben. Whatever. Stephon Gilmore was the best player in the National Football League. The Defensive Player of the Year. Okay? And that's why Howie wins. Completely, Tone. He uses the player's eyes to satisfy their appetite. Here's the money. And let's work back from there. Like you said, take this pay cut. Oh, by the way, here's $20 million up front for your understanding. Sure, money in the bank is better than a promise in the wind. Let's take a quick time out here, Tone. Keep it here.